Bigfoot, Dogman, Jersey Devil, and others. Are they real? Figments of our imagination? Or the most cleverly disregarded reality of all time? Come into the cabin, let's sit down and find out together. Hey guys, welcome back to the cabin. I'm Robbie.
I'll be Johnny.
And we don't have Normie this time because he's got some stuff he's got to do. So it's just me and Johnny this time. So how you doing today, Johnny?
I am ready for this.
I'm kind of ready for this one too. Seeing as how this is kind of sort of in some of my ancient native folklore that I like to look into.
I need to look and see if the Seminoles have anything wrong with this.
They might, but Cherokee definitely has something in this topic we're going to be touching on tonight. I think we should tell everybody what we're going to be talking about tonight.
The Wompus Cat.
The Wompus Cat.
Cherokee legend.
Yep. It's also pretty widespread throughout a lot of different First Nation tribes and a lot of just different areas. Like, depending on what area of the country you're standing in, they might be talking about the same thing, but it's going to have a different name. Like some of the different names I found in Missouri, they call it the Galliwampus. Arkansas calls it the Whistling Wampus. Just generally in the Appalachia area, it's just plain a Wampus or Wompus Cat. It's described as a half-dog, half-cat creature that can run either erect or on all fours. And it's rumored to be seen just after dark or right before dawn. So,
well,
it's kind of an interesting creature.
Kind of spooky.
Yeah. So, you want to get into some of the Cherokee folklore behind it before we get into the other? Or?
There's a lot of like metaphysical stuff going on here. They had a demon called the Iwa. It was a spirit of madness, and it terrorized the village up around Etowah or Chota, depending on the version you hear. And that's in North Carolina. And the shamans and the war chiefs, they had issues with it, and it was like really haunting this one tribe. And it had the power to drive men mad with just a glance. And basically we have a heroine that steps forward because her husband was attacked by it or affected by it. And she became like the village protector. It's a very exhaustive story, but there's a happy ending.
So she basically became the superhero of the story.
Yeah. Her husband was running bear or standing bear. And she went to war for her husband. And it was a very worthy story.
Yeah, it says, we can go back to the when you were talking about this being in the North Carolina area. You know, we've had a lot of different shows that we've talked about things in North Carolina. North Carolina seems to be an area that's really steeped in a lot of these.
It's got a lot of deep history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, you got Indian lore, you got Appalachian lore. It's well rounded.
Yeah, I mean, everything from, you know, we did the show on Croatoa, the lost colony of Croatoa. There's been Bigfoot sightings up there. This Wompus Cat. A lot of haunted areas around there. Which, I mean, I know South Carolina's got those too, and every state's really got that. But
Yeah.
you know, North Carolina seems to have kind of like a spiritual hub, I guess.
At some point, we got to play with the pirate lore and the ghost of the pirates.
Yeah, I think I said lost colony of Croatia, but I meant lost colony of Roanoke. So
It was Croatoa.
well, that was that's what was
Close enough.
described on there.
With Southern.
That was in my head.
I know what you meant.
Our tech guy got on to me for calling it the wrong thing. So thank you, Tyler. I appreciate you keeping me straight. But so let's get back to our little Wampus kitty cat here. And, the show we like to make fun of, that it's nothing but pure entertainment. Our Ames guys, they went after this thing one time, I think. I think they called it the Cherokee Death Cat.
That's one of the names I read.
Yeah. So
that sounds a whole lot, more menacing than Wompus Kitty or Kitty Wompus.
now I've used that term cattywampus plenty of times. I bet you have too, haven't you?
Once or twice.
You welding something and it get all cattywampus on you?
It went cattywampus on me.
I built some stuff out of wood that's went cattywampus on me. But let's see. So, Standing Bear, I believe, if I'm correct, his wife was Running Deer.
Yes.
She's the heroine of the story. So, what exactly did she? I know it's a long, drawn out story, but
she embarked. The rumor was that if she killed the Iwa, it would end the curse. And she went to tracking because she was like really good in the woods. She knew it like the back of her hand or her village. And she tracked her husband's route. She found his breastplate laying next to the creek, and she knew that's where he was attacked. And when she did, when she finally met up with this thing, it was she was wearing her mask given to her by a shaman, and she tore it, the mask. And the spirit of the mountain cat turned its powerful magic back on itself. Sounds like some Cherokee Aikido going on here. And she ran back to the village. And she never once looked back. And she got back home. She sang a song to quiet and grieve for her husband. And she was happy for the demon's banishment, and the shamans and war chiefs declared Running Deer the spirit talker and home protector.
There's a lot more to that story that we just kind of paraphrase to it, but so many times we've said this and we hear this, and the legends and the folklore, but they got to be based on something. So, if you were a betting man, what would you say that they based this?
I don't know what to say. I mean, there's a lot of deep details into this story. It's not just. I'm not trying to be short and paraphrase, but I want people to read this for themselves because it's an epic tale.
Yeah.
Of a woman's love for her husband and her tribe, and she steps up and goes to war.
Yeah, and so many of these First Nation stories are like that, though. If people just take time to read them, I mean, I've read a lot of these, especially the Cherokee, and I'm sure you've done the same with the Seminole, because that's part of your heritage, just like Cherokee's part of my heritage. And, there's there's stuff in there that could make movies that would make millions if people would just do them the right way. I mean, because...
Yeah, there's... Florida's got some neat legends, and I need to dig back into them, but that's for down the road.
Yeah. But anyway, if I had to put money on it, I would say that this was probably something that they saw, heard, whatever, that they built the legend around. I mean, obviously, if you go to any First Nation tribe and you talk to them about Bigfoot or anything like that, it's a known fact to them. It's like coming up to anybody and saying, "Hey, have you ever seen a Chevrolet?" Yeah, every day. I mean, and that's honestly that's the best analogy that I can put forward to it because it's just
common knowledge.
Yeah, and like William. I mean, I've talked to William several times, and it's just when I saw mine for the first time, it's like a world altering experience. But for him, it's just like Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, and a lot of these legends, I think, are kind of that way. Almost like I said with the analogy for the car. I mean, I know that's kind of a stretch because vehicles are everywhere. We know that. Everybody can see them. But the fact that it's just that common of knowledge amongst these tribes that they see and hear and are so much more in tune with what's going on than we ever could be.
When you live in nature, it's a whole different thing. Like, you saw yours out your back porch door. That would be creepy. I saw mine in the woods. It wasn't creepy. It was like, I'm in his house.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that I was, somewhere around 8 or 9 years old, that kind of added to it. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, you stand up and you look out of your house somewhere you're supposed to feel safe and secure, and you see something like that at that age, it blows your mind.
Very intimidating.
Yeah, very. But like you said, you saw yours in the woods, and you didn't feel anything other than, oh, well, there's something in the woods. But there again, you were probably a little bit older than that when you made your first.
I was about 13-ish. So, plus or minus a year.
Yeah. So not a whole lot older, but there again, you're in the woods and you're already on, I don't want to say high alert.
But I was very attuned.
Yeah, and you're going to be more alert, more attuned, more
than a kid watching cartoons.
Yeah, I don't want to say on edge, but I was probably more relaxed, and you were probably more okay, I need to be on my toes because even if you're not expecting to run into a Bigfoot, you still think, okay, there could be a bear, there could be a wolf, there could be snakes. You've got to be in a mindset of I've got to watch out for things no matter what because of where I'm at. Yeah. Whereas I'm sitting there in the house, like I said, and it's just not something that you expect.
And you got to think these Cherokees were immersed in it 24/7.
Yeah, so to hear or see something like this Wompus Cat, it seems to me like it affected them more than seeing something like a Bigfoot. So that's what intrigues me. If they have this long epic tale about this, and it was something that
it wasn't your standard large cat either.
Yeah.
This thing carried weight.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't see these long or big epic stories about mountain lions or bobcats or things like that. I mean, they're mentioned obviously, but I've yet to see any big long story about about a cougar or a bobcat or a lynx or anything like that. So obviously this thing made an impact to where there was a story about it that has survived all these years. So
I see more there than like us telling boogeyman tales to keep our kids in line at night.
Yeah, and a lot of people that you talk to, they say that's where a lot of the stories of Bigfoot came from was that story. But there's just too many stories.
That's a white man tool, I think.
Well, and I think to some degree there were some things that Native Americans told their kids, to keep them in line. But I don't think that like we do per se. I think if that most of the, as you say, the white man part of it, that was a complete and total scare tactic. They didn't believe that there was something out there that was going to do it. It was just, hey, if you go out there, the booger's going to get you. Yeah. Now, there were some, obviously, that believed it. I believe my great-grandparents did, but just never told me. But I believe that in these Native American cultures, when they were telling that, it was not just a scare tactic. It was a, hey, this is really out there. If you aren't careful and you don't do what you're supposed to do, something bad's going to happen to you. Yeah. I don't think that to me is different than a scare tactic. That's you need to watch this or something bad's going to happen. A scare tactic is just what it says, a scare tactic.
Yeah, it's I'm curious. I don't know if I really want to be around there to find out about it close and personal.
Yeah, and if you were in that situation, in that time frame, and it was something, let's say that, for us, seeing Bigfoot is like some of us go for our whole lives trying to make that one sighting, and some people are lucky enough to get 2, 3, 4, however many sightings. But if you're in that and you see something like that every day, and you see Bigfoot, and it's, common, it's just a part of life, way of life. But there's something out there that scares you more than that, like this Wompus Cat. I mean, how scary has this thing got to be?
Yeah, that's the thing. They never really talk about a size to it. Like it was 10 foot tall, 2 mules tall, no kind of reference. It's more of a spiritual demon than anything. Maybe embodied in a cat.
Kind of like Jersey Devil type thing.
Yeah, but that Jersey Devil, that's just weird. That's like spare parts God had left over. Or somebody threw together.
But it more or less was a demonic entity that inhabited, for lack of a better term, spare parts, but it's not like a species of,
exactly. It's not a known species.
It's not the Jersey Devils. It is the Jersey Devil. There's only been one that they've talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know the Wompus Cat, because there's different people. It may be that way too, but it seemed to me, especially the Cherokee version. I haven't read a lot of the other versions yet, but it seems like it's like you're saying. It was kind of an embodiment.
Yeah, it's an amalgam of a wolf and a big cat. I mean, that's and it scared men into madness, or affected men into madness.
Yeah, that's one thing we kind of left out. That supposedly,
so, I mean, what if it was maybe a gugway? What if it was a misidentified dog man type thing?
Yeah, well, and that's what we've talked about that. A lot of these things, one tribe or one person may call it this, and some person may call it just. We read it at the first of this show about how different places called it different things. Maybe you're right, because I don't know how recent the term Gugway is actually. I know was it Lakota? I
think it's Lakota.
Yeah, and it means face eater.
Yeah.
So I know they have not, but I don't know how recent it's been known like it is right now by multiple.
I've never heard that term, and I've been into these things since I was a kid.
Yeah, same here.
Type 3? What's that? There's more than one.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many people that just think that there's only the Patty version, Patterson Gimlin, for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about. Let's listen to our show, 2 or 3 shows ago when we went through the types.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm like you, Johnny. I've been in it since I was a kid, too. And I thought I was pretty well versed until we started reading into some of it. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot more out there than just.
We got to dig more into North Carolina stuff, because it's this Wompus Cat. I just thought it was a slang term for nothing.
Well, and the thing is, some of it may, on our side of it anyway, some of it may be that. It's just, like you said earlier, just an old wives' tale, for lack of a better term, something to scare kids. But all that stuff's based off something.
Yeah, every old what do you call it? Every old story has.
Yeah, every legend has some.
There's going to be a grain of something.
Some element of truth to it. I think that's something, like you said. I think we need to do a show specifically on North Carolina, because we've got a show coming up in a couple of weeks about a cryptid in North Carolina. We're gonna save that. We ain't gonna spoil it because
I can't wait.
We need to have our buddy here because he's got a special connection to this cryptid. You folks will hear that special connection.
It'll be a good one.
Yep. It'll be funny. It'll be good. Anyway, well, that's the Wompus Cat. That was a pretty good little show, Johnny.
Yeah, it was. I learned a lot.
Yeah. That might be something we could go back and revisit. There's some of these, maybe we can't get more than one show out of, but I think this one, and honestly, I didn't know that this would be one that we could get more than one show out of until I started reading and figuring out that there was more than, one area that basically claimed this, and there's all kinds of different names.
Well, if you think about it, how far west did the Cherokee go?
Yeah.
Maybe they carried it with them.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it followed them because that story you read, it was pretty intent on that one tribe.
Mm-hmm. So. And, then Andrew Jackson did his thing, and they went west. And as far as I know, Arkansas is betwixt here in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this show. If y'all want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook at What's Really Out There. We also have a website, we have a email, which is what's really out there 2022 at gmail.com. And if you want to send smoke signals, Johnny watches those for us. We also have a YouTube channel. These shows go up on YouTube automatically, but we have a YouTube channel. You can leave comments on there, and myself, Norm, or Tyler, I believe, get those. Norm pretty well checks the Facebook page. I think, Johnny, you can keep a check on that too.
I'm illegitimate. I can't read.
You got to love him, folks. But anyway, you can get in touch with us those ways. What's Really Out There on Facebook. What's Really Out There 2022 at gmail.com. Or What's Really Out There on YouTube. You can find all the episodes there. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on, what's some other platforms we're on? iHeartRadio.
Yeah, it's...
Spreaker.
You're in that full gamut of different podcast apps.
And I think we are at that threshold where we're either almost can get on Apple. Yeah, we're on Amazon Music too, but I think we've almost got enough to get on Apple iTunes. You had to have a certain episode amount.
Cool.
And once you get to that amount, we can actually be on there. So I have to check into that. I'll get Tyler to help me check into that and see. But if that, then that'll be an extra area we can branch out to.
Okay.
But other than that, Johnny, you got anything else?
Nothing but reach out, send us some leads. If you're listening, send us a thing about Pumpkin Town. You'll know what I mean.
Yep. And I think Norm's actually investigating a lead that we got from, what do you say, Saluda?
Saluda.
Yeah. So, I don't know if he got it on Facebook or if he got it on the YouTube. I don't know where he got the lead from, but he got a lead, and he sent us a message right before the show started tonight that he had a lead he was checking out. So, hopefully we'll have something to...
I'm interested. I can't
hopefully
wait.
We'll have another show topic with that one. We'll keep that under wraps until we figure something out. Other than that, we've had a good time in the cabin tonight, Johnny.
It's always good.
Yep. So, all right, folks, take care. Get out in the woods. Do some hunting. Do some fishing. Do some camping. Just make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure somebody knows where you're going. Johnny, I'll see you in the cabin next time, buddy.
Yes, sir.